Welcome to the Rock is George podcast. I'm your host, George Dionne, and this is episode 137. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit like, follow, or subscribe on the platform you're listening to us on. You can also check out my work at theloudest.com on the planet, knac.com for exclusive interviews, live show coverage, and more. My guest for this episode is drummer Diprima of Royal Thunder. The band recently released their fourth studio album, Rebuilding the Mountain, which is their first studio album in 6 years. There was a bit of turmoil in the band, and there probably wasn't too much of a chance of a new album if it hadn't been for some reflection in their downtime. But I'm going to let Diprima himself tell you about the fall and resurrection of Royal Thunder. If I knew absolutely nothing about Royal Thunder, how would you describe the band's music to me?
Oh man, I'd just say we're a rock band. That's the easiest thing to say. I mean, we all listen to all kinds of stuff there, so we have all kinds of different influences across the map, but we like to just say rock band.
Your fourth studio album is Rebuilding the Mountain. It came out on June 16th through Spine Farm. This is your first album in 6 years. I believe the album's title, Rebuilding the Mountain, is sort of a euphemism for the band itself because it had originally disbanded and now you're back together.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's that, just doing it right this time, really giving it 100%. We're all clear-headed. We've learned a lot over the years, we learned what to do and what not to do. So it's reflective of that. And then also, I think Josh was inspired from the title. He was watching an old movie, maybe a Western, and someone mentioned something about rebuilding a mountain, and that kind of sparked the title, and then it just goes hand in hand with our story too, man. So I love the title of the album.
What originally led to the band's breakup? Was it just immaturity? Was it musical differences? What was it?
Man, we just weren't paying attention to our personal lives, and we just ran it into the ground, man, and burned out. And we had to I left for a couple years, and we reconvened after a couple years, and we were like, dude, I'm sorry, let's just fucking do this right this time, and let's just do it. Because I had left and then played with other bands just to fill the void, but it just reassured me that Royal Thunder, Josh and Mel are my band, man. That's our people, man. That's it's our family, man. Can't do it with anybody else, That's what happened, man. We weren't paying attention. We were just touring constantly. We developed alcohol problems just from touring so much. And, when you're out there, the one free thing you're guaranteed every night is beer. So over the years, it just that took priority over everything else, and we realized it, and we, fixed ourselves and, worked it out like adults, and now it's better than it ever has been,
Was there a particular event or somebody in the band that kind of brought everybody back together that said, hey, we're better together than apart?
It was all kind of mutual there. It had been 2 years, and I was like, I can't fucking take it anymore. I have to talk to them. You know what I mean? It's just not right. I ran off. We hadn't talked. It's time to make things right, So I had reached out. I think I'd actually talked to Mel first, just randomly, and then I initially sent out a text to both of them, and I was like, guys, let's talk. Let's do this. Let's just leave the past behind, because it was so dumb that we split anyway. Looking back on it, we could have I could have stuck around and we worked it out and helped each other out, But I was younger and immature at the time, and I just ran away. And so that's how it happened. I initially just uh, started reaching out to him again, and then it was like, all right, like no lost time, and because it sucked, dude. I was just in denial for a couple years when I wasn't playing with him. I was like, man, this sucks, I was like, it sucks not, but it's not even the mute. I mean, a lot of it's the mute. I mean, of course, you got to be connected musically, but it's also like you're spending the most time with these people. Like you're in a van every day, or like you're writing albums together, and like they're my best friends, my brother and sister too. So it's just like it was like I was like grieving not being in the band, like grieving the loss of not having them in my life. Like it was. So I'm glad we worked it out, man. It's I believe you can always make things right, man. A lot of the shit you fight about in the past is so stupid when you look back on it.
So you guys started trading files right around the lockdown times to put the new album together. Is sort of a different process for you guys, from what I understand. You didn't go as indulgent in the length of songs. You kept things a little more brief. Things were a little more tighter, from what I understand.
Yeah. Um, it's so funny, man. We demoed this album so much, man, and like so many different forms, and a lot of that was because of when the pandemic first hit, and everyone, no one knew what was happening, so everyone was, the lockdowns, everyone staying isolated, quarantined, so we couldn't even get in the same room, for like a year. So that's what made us just like, all right, well, let's like just do it remote, start it that way. And like I had just moved from Atlanta to North Carolina when Josh sent me the first round of like riffs, and I like hadn't set up my gear yet, so I was like tapping like on a drum machine, like just to like put a groove into it. And I was just like, fuck this, man. So like I went and got like it got me into recording again. So I went and got everything I needed to like record real live drums into the demos again. So like, yeah, we'd send each other files. He'd send me guitar riff. I'd track drums into it for a while. And then I think it was like the very end of 2021, we were finally able to get together in person again. So we just like demoed everything. And the songs are shorter, but it's funny because the demos are like each song's like 10 minutes, because like, that's how we write. We don't think about it. We just jam, and we're like, oh, that was cool. All right, remember that. And then we're like, oh, that sucked. Oh, this part was cool though. And we kind of just like anything that feels right, we'll kind of hold on to. So like if you listen back to the demos, it's literally just like one part for like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Because we're just like getting the feel down and the tempo, and that's how we wrote the album. And then we didn't really like, all right, figure out like, we didn't plan the song lengths. It just felt like the message had been delivered like in a shorter time span it just happened naturally that way. I think going back to a 3-piece helped that too, because it's like, it's back to the roots, with 3 people, you can just get in there and jam and just hash out ideas, and one guitar player, one bass player, one drummer, one vocal. It's less cooks in the kitchen. You know what I mean? And
does everyone contribute to lyrics, or is that primarily the role of the vocalist?
That's mostly all Mel. I mean, I think there's like some lines in this album that Josh like thought of that she incorporated into some stuff that like work perfectly with the songs and the message. But no, that's Mel. I mean, a lot of times the vocals are the last thing to get written. Like that's how we usually do it. I've always done it. Like all the instrumentals are finished first, and then she's able to sit back and listen to it and like finalize melodies and like lyrics and make sure. So that's usually how we do it. Where like this record, we went in and we did the instrumental just live. Like we didn't even run click track or anything. We And then we just like punched in guitar solos and stuff like they did back in the day, you know what I mean? And I think that worked out well because the feel of the record is natural. Whereas like sometimes if you're recording everything to a click, it's like it can be it doesn't have the natural push and pull of like a live show. And I think I'm really proud of the record in that way because we took a leap, kind of like a chance, and it's cool, you know. So
I think it's definitely paid off for you because there is fantastic reviews for Rebuilding the Mountain across the internet, across the world. So, I mean, it's got
thanks,
to be
man.
sort of a feather in your cap to kind of have this chaos and then come back from this chaos and create something really special.
I appreciate that, man, and we're thankful to even be able to do it at all. You know, um, that's how it is. You never know if that's going to be your last show or your last tour or your last record. You know, you just never know. So you can't. You just gotta suck. You know, take it all in and be good with it, and not take it for granted. You know, we don't worry about like how big the band is or stuff like that. We're just like, man, we just want to be a working band and like get out there and play and like make the right decisions and stuff.
Obviously, all the songs on the album are special to you, but do you have any particular favorites that you like a little more than others?
I guess I pick my favorites based on the ones I enjoy to play live the most. Uh, the Knife is one of my favorites. That was even as soon as we jammed on that riff, we were like, "Yep." I remember when it was like one of the last. It was the first single to come out, but it was like the last song to be written, like before we went in the studio. You know, it's funny how that worked out, but that one's awesome. It's fun, and that's the thing. Like even with drumming, like I don't focus on like flashiness. I'm like, man, what's going to be the most enjoyable live and for the listener, and it's going to leave space for everything else. You know what I mean? So the Knife, Now Here Nowhere is another great live one. Uh, Fade is fun, super fun to play live. Yeah, I guess I'd say all of them, man. I mean, as my favorite, if we just had to narrow it down to two based on the live shows, I'd say Fade and or three, Fade, the Knife, and Now Here Nowhere are my favorite to most fun to play live for me as a drummer.
It sounds like you're playing about half the album live. Is that true?
Yeah, it's funny because we went out and did those random three shows in January, and we played like half the record at those shows before it had even been announced or anything, just to kind of like test the waters, you know. We did that with Crooked Doors and Wick and all that stuff too. We would like take like some songs out on tour and like live test them. But yeah, we've been playing, man. We've been playing most of the album before we even recorded it, and it's crazy because like Wick and Crooked Doors, and I think even, but this was before I was even in the band, but I think even CVI, a lot of that was written in the studio. I know Crooked Doors was mostly written in the studio, besides like three songs when we went in, and Wick was the same situation. This one we just had more time to demo, just given what was going on, man, in the world and all that shit, you know.
The album was co-produced and engineered by Tom Tapley. Did he add anything to kind of the dynamics of putting this album together?
I mean, we had it all written before we went in. I mean, he had like little flavor suggestions like, hey man, don't hit the crash cymbals in this verse kind of thing. Or like, I think one song it was like, let's take like that outro and put it in the beginning too. So that's about as far into producing I'd say he went. Mostly engineered and mixed, but you know, that's what it was. But the songwriting was us for the most part, other than just like flavor suggestions. So it's a fine line with the word producer these days, you know.
You guys are heading out in July with Royal Bliss. You're supporting them on tour. Have you ever played with Royal Bliss before?
No, man, but I'm into him. Like, I had never heard of the band until they hit us up for the tour, and I was like, "This is gonna be awesome, man." They seem like awesome dudes. They seem like they love what they're doing, man. And another just rock band. Yeah.
Do you guys have any plans once that particular tour ends to keep it going or doing a headlining run for yourself?
We're actually figuring that out now. We're just trying to figure out kind of the best move after July. We should know really soon, though.
You mentioned you demoed a lot of material for rebuilding the mountain. Do you have some leftover material that you're considering for a future release?
Possibly. We actually had a song that we recorded that didn't get finished that was going to be on the record. So we might revisit that one. We had a couple other demos that we might go back to. Because I think we had demoed like something like 16 songs or something. And like the other ones just didn't make it because we either just like forgot about them or like, you know what I mean? Or like, but I don't know. We might revisit some of those, or we might just come up with something completely new. I mean, we're in the mindset now where we're just constantly writing.
Are you guys close together as far as geography is concerned? Are you guys in different states? How's it work out for you guys?
Yeah, well, I'm in North Carolina. They're down in Atlanta, but I'm from Atlanta. So up until 2 years ago, that's where I lived. So it's only about a 4 hour drive. So I just drive down like sometime every month, and we'll just like go hard practicing for a few days in a row and catch up on stuff. And then, but a lot of the business side of things just happens through phone calls and stuff like that. But I might be moving back next year, so that's gonna be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I miss it down there. I miss a lot of my friends and stuff.
I noticed your downtime from Royal Thunder. You worked on a project called Moon Destroys with Juan Montoya.
Yeah,
What was that project about, and what kind of music was that?
man. So that project actually started in like 2009. Uh, Under a name, the band name was originally called Stallone, and it was an instrumental band. And that's why there's a Moon Destroys EP called Stallone Demos 2009. It's the first like little mixtape we did. Um, so in my downtime, like in between, I kind of just revisited that with him, with Juan, and it was gonna be just more Stallone stuff, um, but it just made more sense to like think of a new name. And it was his idea to get a couple guest vocalists and still have some instrumental stuff in between, and that was more of just like a super fun like little studio project because I'm constantly just writing music at my house, like instrumental stuff and weird stuff. So a lot of that is just, if you ever see me pop anything out instrumental or something, it's just stuff I don't know what to do with. They're like, you know what I mean? We went in and recorded that with Joey, who did every Royal Thunder album except Rebuilding the Mountain. So
I noticed you're also a drum instructor and drummer for hire.
yeah, well, not for hire, just like I like doing like if someone has a song and they're like, "Hey man, you want to record and send me drum tracks?" I like do that for some money or something, which is fun. It keeps your chops up. But drum instructor, yeah, I've been teaching in my downtime. I'm gonna get back into it a little more after this July tour. I've kind of like haven't been teaching the last month, just getting ready for tour and all that since the record came out. But I love teaching, man. I feel like it's almost like paying it forward. Like spread the word, man. Don't there's got to be human drummers still, and
Hmm.
so like I love teaching, man. It depends. Unless it's like a student, like I had one student that like threw sticks at me and stuff, and I had to drop him. But it keeps me in practice too, because I like to sit and play the exercises also with the student, and I just observe. You know what I mean?
Who are some of the drummers that influenced you?
Keith Mood, Bill Ward, Ginger Baker, John Dinsmore, Jonathan Pesta, Ian Pace, a lot of all kinds of different dudes, man. All kinds of different drummers, Cozy Powell.
It's surprising because I wouldn't have put you in that generation of drummers. I wouldn't have put you in the 70s. I would have put you more into the 90s drummers.
Yeah. I think Jonathan Pesta, he's more 90s because he's like White Zombie.
Yeah.
I got into him when I was a kid. He's probably my favorite drummer, I guess, growing up watching him play and and now he's with one of my favorite, like probably my favorite band of all time, The Cult, So and I've seen him live with him. I've seen him live with him a few times, and it's awesome. But yeah, Jonathan Pesta, just his overall tone and consistency, man. I don't even know. I mean, he's awesome, man. He's like John Bonham, but like the X-Men version. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Most people name Neil Peart.
Oh yeah, it's funny, dude. I couldn't tell you like a Rush. I never really got into him. It's not because I didn't like him. I just I never took that dive.
Me either.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that tattoo you have there with the skeleton bridegroom.
Oh man, I got that when I was young. And I thought I was never going to get married. And I was like, marriage is death. I'm happily married for about 7 years now. But yeah, I got that when I was young. It's great though. The dude who did it's great.
Yeah.
But a lot of my tattoos don't mean shit. Except some of the ones I've gotten lately or recently in the last few years, For the most part, it was like I just had an artist I liked, and I was like, dude, you just do what you want to do. Like, I kind of tell you if I like it or not, because I don't want to. You gotta just let them roll with it,
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just a great piece of art that you're like, hey, that would look good on my arm or my leg.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's the dude put dicks in this one, so there's definitely some suspect looking flowers.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today, Evan. The new album by Royal Thunder is Rebuilding the Mountain. Fantastic album. I wish you the best with it. And thank you for talking more about Royal Thunder and everything that's been going on with you.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you having me on. And thanks for all the kind words and support, man. It means everything this day and age.
Once again, I want to thank Evan Diprima of Royal Thunder for coming on the Rock is George podcast. Be sure to check out their latest album, Rebuilding the Mountain, out now through Spine Farm Records. Head over to your favorite music streaming app. Take a listen to the album. If you like what you hear, buy a physical copy. Support the artist. For all things Royal Thunder, head over to their Facebook page /Royal Thunder Music. I also want to thank John Freeman of Freeman Promotions and Spine Farm for making this interview possible. You've been great. I've been George Dionne. Discover your next favorite artist on the Rock is George podcast.